Hello everyone, welcome back to the OGA Pit. Miner here and ready to move on with day number 2. This time we're going to take a look at Europe. Look, back again, ready to go with our region this time.
Back again, it's like we never really left. For those who are watching, it wasn't that long ago that we were here in the studio last night doing the LATAM. And today we're going to have the first day of EU. 3 more best of 3s. Big games, big qualifiers, and big names on the plate today. None more so than probably the very first game of the night, which will be G2. Those juggernauts that haven't played an open qualifier or a closed qualifier for a very long time against Existence. Trust Gamer vs Augulus and Penta vs Envik.
And of course you can see BDS and MKers as well will be taking place in number 2 along with Chaos and Vegasy, Secret Syzygy, and then also for number 3 for Europe we'll have Vitality against Timber and Fours against Trukut. So there's a lot of stuff there.
That's the thing, and obviously out of all of these teams, half of them have come from the open qualifiers, half of them are invited to the qualifiers, but there is only 2 spots to get them onto the LAN in early December, and then from then on only 1 spot as the way in to the major. So there is a lot of teams here all bidding for that very vital place, and it's going to be quite a bracket as it gets a bit towards the end.
Oh, it's getting there. You know, we already see matches shaping up. I'm sure everybody's eyeing up BDS, G2 potentially as we move in towards the semi-finals, of course. And, you know, you look on the other side, Fours is always going to be there. So there is that Challenge League kind of aspect to a lot of things. You know, Secret also being mixed in there. There's a lot of great teams here, and I'm glad to see that, you know, we're getting a chance in a best of 3 finally, where we don't really see these teams playing as a best of 3. All of it's kind of best of 1s for Pro League and Challenger League.
That's it, and you can obviously, as we said, kind of pinpoint some of these teams from both sides. Some of them have very tough opening games. I'm kind of looking at you there, Existence up against a G2 that is fueled and fired and will be the first game we go into. But at the same time, as you said, there's a lot of possibility here. Secret versus Syzygy, which is a game that we saw not too long ago. A chance for kind of retribution. Trust Gaming, who haven't had the best season so far in CL, up against Augulus, who again have kind of had a bit of a bitter battle. So that's going to be one of the games that we see today. But obviously, as we said, first off the bat and first on the play is G2 up against Existence.
Yeah, so you're going to have world champions against the Spanish champions in this situation. And, well, there's not really any way we can look at it apart from G2 victory.
It's a hard one. I think that is the kind of easiest way as well. In their play up to here, Existence, for a team, if you're not familiar with them, they have been on the door of T2 so often. They beat Gamewood, who are a T2 team, with some previously T1 players to get into all of this. So they have some history. They've smashed the Spanish league. They're a very big team. But you're up against G2. And not just any G2. A G2 that have suffered some losses and are back on that upswing, desperately wanting to find and cement their place inside a major that they should be done. But we'll jump into the map bans and we'll see where these 2 teams like to go. G2 probably won't want to go to Border, I will say.
G2 have everything. G2 are comfortable on every single map that they can play. It's more Existence we have to kind of turn our eyes towards. And, well, you know, you look at the course over the Spanish League for Existence. Console has been a very strong map for themselves, and Bank also being added in there. So if you're looking at 2 strong maps for Existence, it would be Console and it would be Bank. Villaband, first off, one of Existence's weaker maps that we can definitely add in there. Don't play a whole lot, so it makes sense to try and ban out away from G2, who we know have great roaming capabilities, along with Uno and Canto Rocchetti, of course. So there's a lot of things there that G2 could really use and abuse on Villa. I'm curious to see what specifically G2 are going to ban. I imagine they're going to ban probably Existence's best map, which should be in that scenario, Console or Bank. But bit of a curveball, the Border ban being thrown in.
I said it. I said they're going to ban Border.
That's a weird one.
They've been taking it out a fair bit recently. They haven't massively wanted to go there. And you kind of reference it as a map where good teams can often go to lose, as Oregon used to be. It's one that becomes a bit of a battle because at this point, all the kind of strats and all that kind of movement has been run to the ground so much that it gives Existence a chance to kind of rely on that. And at this point, G2, they're happy to go to any of these maps. They are G2. They are so long and so storied at this point, so why not remove the basic one? Why not take the simple maths out of the equation and rely on some trigonometry instead? Now it is the chance of picking, and you've got to think in the camp of Existence, where do you take G2 to? They are quite comfortable on Bank, but no, they're actually going to opt for a little bit of a different flavor this time.
Club? Solid enough from Existence, and G2, they've had some varied results in Clubhouse, for sure. You know, it's one which hasn't looked exceedingly exceptional from G2 time to time. You know, there is that kind of bit of I'd say, a lot less roam game, so it kind of limits in players like Uno, like Kanto, who can't really roam about, especially if they're looking towards the basement, so it kind of have to anchor your style. But we've talked about G2 many a times, and they're not really a team who has their own set playstyle. They have about 50 different playstyles depending on who they're playing. They have, they're the Swiss Army knife of teams. They can do whatever they need to do to, of course, do the job against the team that they're playing against.
It's a laminated and Argos-sized kind of strapback. It's what they kind of run with.
Yes, Shash's laptop, oh my word, you've never seen anything like it in your life.
Well, it works in their favor, and I mean, again, this is quite a chaotic pick from them, I think. They're kind of going to rely on the fresh look for strategies, I think, and see how that kind of works in their favor. Two very big and bold maps there between them, and now it's just a matter of double banning. And as I said, Existence, for me, this map ban is pick your poison, really. Pick the Cluedo weapon that you want to smash you over the head with, and see if you can hold on to. Another ban there from G2. Still got Bank and Coastline on the board. A possibility for more aggression or more roam. As I said, Existence statistically have a good history on Bank, but it's how you want to play it and where you want to meet G2, really.
Yeah, that Cafe pick was the last map that G2 played inside of Pro League. They played against Penta and they won 7-3. They also played it previously and played a number 11 where they beat Sisu 7-5, and that was kind of where we seen Sisu finally get a little bit of form. In the end, that didn't help them. They're still going into relegations. But, you look at the ban there from Console. It makes sense for G2 to ban that away. It has to be the ban of Coastline for 6 tenths. That leaves them then the Bank pick, of course, which we know they're favourable on. Coastline we go. So maybe they're fearing G2 in their Bank game.
I mean, that was the thing, because I can say how many times they're statistically good on it, but you've got to, again, realize, as I said, that you're going against G2. If you give them a lot of space, I mean, there's points on that map named after players from G2. Yep. Like, they are a very good and historically good team on that map. Go to Coastline, have it a bit more of a balanced fight, know that, yes, there's going to be some ups and downs across the attack and defense, and you can kind of utilize that in the momentum and in the swing of everything. But obviously the first place that we will be visiting is Clubhouse. The two redesign maps, the two most recently kind of in the comp pool redesign maps, the ones that we're going to be swinging to, and I guess our first trip will be to Clubhouse.
We're ready to go. And that Coastline pick's pretty interesting for 6 tenths because G2, they've had an okay time on Coastline. They had the draw against Giants there in the second to last play day, of course, and that was a really, really heavily heated map. It was the map that, of course, sent Empire into the Rally Major victory as well over G2.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing about it is, you can kind of look at how G2 played recently and their kind of map control and their map pool, and it was almost if you hark all the way back to the long, as I said, sordid story of the team of G2 and how they were so dominant for such a long period of time, and then they kind of rested on their laurels for the Pro League to focus on these majors, and then the majors started to slip through their fingers as well and just kind of getting there, and they've almost had to reinvent themselves back to what they were. Go back to the square one of what made them so creatively destructive, how they could lead an entire kind of pro scene just from the plays that they were devising. And it's kind of nice to see them go back to that aggressive creative style of going, well, this is the forefront, these are the strats that we're developing, we're showing them, we're bringing them, we're not going to hide anything, and we're going to show you what we were, the Titan that we once were.
First time since Invitational 2017 that G2 have had to play in a qualifier.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? It's cool and it's weird. And I think, again, it kind of, as I said, it's good that it's been a bit of a wake-up for them, because there are some teams that can kind of sleep on that, and they'll let that glory slip away, and they'll kind of fade further and further. But G2 have gone, no, we've realized that we're not the best in the world currently, statistically right now, but we know we can be again, and we're going to fight back in that. We're not going to kind of sit back and rest. We're going to do everything that we can to get back to that top spot. And well, let's see how much they bring to these qualifiers. Church and Arsenal is going to be our first hold. A pretty likely set of bans there across EU that we're very familiar with at this point.
We talked for a long time, many moons ago, that who will ever take down this G2 lineup. A team that was winning back-to-back-to-back championships. In the space of 6 months, they've crumbled. Yep. And now it's allowed new teams to kind of open up and go straight in there. You look at Navi, you look at Giants, who finally got their run of form, have managed to best G2 themselves, and even Empire, winning the Rally Major. G2 should be able to pick it back on form. I definitely feel that this team, if they get to invite, can still do the same thing they did done time and time again. Everything's open for them. G2's story is a very complicated one in terms of kind of what's happened with them. You know, roster changes that we didn't really expect that they were to be made. You know, yes, they're world champions, but they've had their fair share of roster changes. You know, you look at the history of this team, you've had players like KS playing this team, Falco, Yunus, of course, even Shate as well at one point. There has been roster changes for this team, and of course the most recent one, we have to talk about Uno and the kind of pressure that I think everybody is putting this guy. But there's no need to put pressure on this guy, because he is phenomenal in his own right. You think back to his time at ENCE, you think back to Season 8 Challenger League, he was one of the #1 players. That was, of course, was the Empire era where they managed to push through and just sweep everybody aside. Uno was the only saving light for ENCE in that team at all. And that's why he's picked up in this team, because they know the potential. Sua has worked with this man before, they know how good he is. And he can give them everything that G2 are looking for.
Yeah, and I guess obviously now that he's had more than enough time to get himself, there's always the kind of argument of how much a roster change can throw a team dynamic, and again, when you're one of the biggest and best teams in the world. But, you know, before that, Kanto, when he came over and they showed that they can kind of slot him in perfectly when he fed in for the kind of stand-in and then became a permanent member of the team. So, you know, it's always a bit of an excuse, and I think they realized that as well, and they were, well, we can kind of make this work and we can bring us back to our own favor. However, Uno suffers the opening frag there, as Duke is the one to drop him on the far side. And with your Jaeger out of the equation, it's not the worst loss in the world. You assume that at that point all the ADSs are down, but here comes a bit of pressure on to this bar hatch, this auto hatch, as Duke is just going to cover onto the blue side and make sure there's no one keeping an eye on him. He feels the camera is close, but unfortunately he can't quite find it as they start their slow and steady roll with Goga just holding deep inside blue.
Kaid also being picked up and hasn't really managed to get any Electro Claws off at the moment. Of course, Thatcher being brought by Existence means that Kai doesn't have that much of an impact. They are dealing with 2 hard breachers, of course, which is expected on Clubhouse, especially for basement, where you need as many hatches and as many walls as you can open, and that's a nice one. That's pretty typical in the meta, as you'd save at least 1 X-Kairos pellets to create that little feet hole straight into the site, and you can basically cover the entire A-bomb from that. It does give Karibo now the go-ahead to try and open up the wall, but there is still that one pesky bandit charge lurking around the wall close to him. Pressure down towards blues, where Sophia tries to send some utility down, but still, everybody from G2 holding firm. There's Fabian, loses that against the Buck, and this is looking like a pretty deep and desperate situation now for G2.
Well, this has been very, very good from Existence. They've got the vertical and they've kind of kept it. Buck, you know, he won away with the firefight based on superior weaponry, but Fabian was very, very close to dropping, and aggressively Kanto tries to hold on to the church wall, but can't quite, as Wispy finds one more, and then in the middle of the corridor, he just swings out. Goga finds Duke in the meantime, at least to put one body on the floor from the side of Existence, but it's suddenly just Pengu versus the world, and Existence take the first round with a balanced and metered close down against this church.
Basement limiting G2 quite a bit in terms of what they can have available. Roam game isn't the best thing to do on a map like Clubhouse, where there is only 2 sets of staircases. Rotation, sure, there's hatches, there's a lot of rooms to kind of cover through if you're attacking, but for the most part, roamers don't have that much of an impact. It's all about the turtle defense. Surprised Uno got picked off very early on. Maybe he could have tried and held himself back a little bit more. You know, if he's playing an operator like Jaeger, you kind of want to have that 416 in the late game, can take those kind of long range engagements down blue, down in towards the main corridor if you need to. I don't know, just seemed very sloppy from G2. They let Existence play their own game, and you never really want to give an attacking team the free card to go, hey, do what you want, we don't really care.
Yeah, well, it was well played from Existence to kind of take it slow and steady, trust in the playbook, and it, well, came to fruition against a team that would otherwise shake a lot of others. You can see one of the good benefits of G2 in terms of the team and how deep it is they're instantly juggling operators. They've obviously swapped Kanto and Uno, are going to try different strategies here and different balances. Kanto back towards the more fragging role of Jaeger, and Uno potentially going to try and hold onto the church wall in a slightly different way, and I guess we'll see if this is one of the, as I said, it's historically one of the best things about the team, but if it can kind of come to fruition today. Obviously Existence, they're generally going with the same kind of loadout, same kind of push, and that makes sense. It was successful. Don't try and reinvent the wheel if the wheel works. Big wide hold coming across here though, as they're setting themselves up all across cash and construction side.
So 3 players upstairs for G2, so spread themselves very thin, But it comes back to, I think they've caught on to, oh, yeah, Existence, we're not going to let you just take what you want. We will try and put something against it and try and utilize those roamers. There's no point having Uno and Kanto sit in sight, because they're not known for sight plays. They're known for these crazy roaming plays. And, well, Goga, who's much more of a sight player, he gets eliminated from their own game early on once more, and does say Existence, again, the man advantage as we go into first bit of their prep phase for their attack, and really they're looking to take the fight against these roamers. Sometimes we see if there's offsite holds, teams will just completely miss the roamers and go straight for the site and try and take that man advantage to the guys, of course, anchoring inside of the bomb site. But this time, Existence are going to try and take the gunfights. Uno, that's a free kill all day long, and he lets that slip.
Yeah, that wasn't the best shooting from a man that's still trying to warm up here, and, well, does at least find the refrag, but even then, what was Duke doing? Kanto Raketti finds Kiribo, and Kanto Raketti finds a second. In the meantime, the upstairs hold kind of coming to fruition, and once the wide peek against Wispy, who doesn't quite catch the body of the Finn upstairs, and now it's a minute 40, but you're just alone, Habana, against a lot of the world. Fabian's on a flicker of health, but otherwise in a very good standing. As we've already said, this basement is a huge point to hold on to with a lot of angles and a lot of places. They don't need to aggressively hold this at this point, but they're G2. They're still going to do it and try and find the firefight upstairs, not let the Habana enter the building at all, and she's just going to opt to rotate. Try and push it, ignore the 3 roamers for now, and see if she can just find a bit more of a semblance of safety. But in the meantime, who needs safety when you can just wildly run out, holding it, and gonna just kind of, I guess, take that lying down. Gonna rappel up as well. The man's on the window. It's just a moment of time, really.
G2, they take their first round, and that was simple enough from G2. So an extended roam hold that straight away Goga got eliminated. So I think that he was trying to peek in towards the windows and bedroom, had a Valkyrie camera out there. I think tried to go for a jump out on the Thatcher. He shot him down straight away. But other than that, Kanto just sat top catwalk, and everybody from Existence just kind of crumbled. Winning the 1v1 just wasn't there. There was a little bit of a mix-up. I'm really surprised that Duke, whenever Bandit starts shooting at him, he just looked away from the staircase and went on in towards Lounge. What was that about?
Yeah, that was curious, because the gun, like, he was lucky to survive that.
Oh yeah, he should have been dead.
Uno suddenly forgot what recoil was and sprayed wildly above the head of the man, and then from that point on just kind of breezed through. Just trusted the good luck that had carried his life at least for the few steps, and unfortunately you're not going to get that far away from Uno before he wants to correct his mistakes, for they are rare. But, you know, CCTV cache, we'll see if the top floor can become a bit more, I would say, as a solid defense in terms of anchoring. Obviously, they were throwing everything upstairs in the previous round, whether they decide to continue the aggressive roam strategy or go with something a little bit more metered. We've seen them do some pretty ludicrous stuff on this point before involving a clash.
Oh, yeah, the Go For strat.
The famous Go For strat.
Yeah, that was actually invented by Pengu's Death Stack in the Go Force.
Oh, was it?
Pretty much, they're like, you know, let's try this. Open up the entire wall, and they just have the clash, and then Faye went into like a 1v5, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was scenes, and they're not replicating those scenes for now. Kanto back on that top deck as he was so expertly before. Goga's going to try and, well, just mute off and hold underneath. Garage becomes quite a big point of contention in the EU games. Everyone generally wants to get control of it and then try and shut across, or they'll go for a fully logistics-sided thing. Either way, that east balcony is going to get cracked open, whatever the weather. Goga's still opening some point architecture as they struggle to get the cameras and find their feet closer to the ground as, again, they look at this very, very important and integral wall. Both Bandit and Kaid are ready for it, and then with the mute on the board too, they are trying their best to hold on to this.
So Existence, just they need to take their time. They're in no rush. It's Clubhouse, a map which is generically slower paced compared to every other map inside of the pool, just because there's a lot of things that attackers kind of need to get things sorted before they finally execute in towards the point. That garage is going to be a big thing that I think Existence are going to have to try and turn their eyes towards. Of course, if you allow someone like Kanto Raketti play up there as freely as he can, then you will have issues, and here comes the Bandit trick trying to come in, and there's an A's also being tossed out, and thankfully for Pengu, who's managed to dodge that one, but in the midst of that, the wall has been opened, so it gives Existence a little bit of a headway in, but still Kanto Raketti is going to be the next man they have to kill.
Curious whether they just burned it without us seeing it, or there just wasn't an ADS on that window to try and stop any of those frag grenades going in. That could have been a much more decisive moment with a little bit of a lapse there, but unfortunately nothing landed for them. 1:25 roughly left on the clock, 1.5 as they try and drone out Goga on the bedroom side. He's just going to pull himself back into construction as they drop into logistics. Finds the foothold. Can they find the head? No! Unfortunately not, as Goga yet again suffers as the first drop of the game, of the round. And Wispy is yet again trying to steadily clear his way across. A minute on, 2 hard destructions set up, and they're trying to find their way through. Duke finds Fabian, and that is a big, big gun off in the hands of Kaid.
It's now Pengu, and Uno and Kanto still have it all to play for. Uno now peeking in, along with Kanto, so both of them now sanctioned off in towards the garage, and since that breach is open, they are stuck there for the meantime. I don't think that Existence will give them that freedom to rotate back to site, and that means that Pengu will get pressured from below, and that's opened things nicely now for an easy walk-in towards the A-bomb site, and since we still know that the 2 Finns are located in towards the garage, it's going to be a rough one to try and hold. Kanto Raketti looking to try and hold from garage straight over across the door frames and in towards the A-bomb site. 20 seconds ago, Existence, they should have this in the bag unless we see some miracles from Kanto coming in quite shortly. The push comes in and well, Habana's dodged the bullets and Kanto heats himself. 1v5 now, not even close. Existence flawless against G2.
Wow, that's a sentence you probably didn't expect to say at the beginning of this game. Existence really showing up so far. Everything seems very clean, everything seems very clinical, and it just seems everything is kind of falling into the perfect balance of things. Obviously, we saw G2 lose the first round to a similar kind of loss and then bring it back in glorious style on the second. I guess we'll see if they can keep responding that way. Obviously, there'll need to be a point where they swap to the front foot. This wasn't their map. This was Existence's map. That's always fair to say. So obviously, Existence are pulling out some good stuff so far, but they're on the attack. And they're against G2, so you would normally expect at least the rounds to be a bit more bitterly battled than this.
Defense should have all control in Clubhouse, especially if you look at the Capitao ban and Maverick ban. Maverick, of course, great because it means that your Bandit and your Kaid can sit there and do whatever they want, don't have to worry about being pressured. That means the attackers have to take an alternative route to, of course, eliminate the Bandit. May it be nades, tossed in through the window, may it be a buck from below. There's options, of course, there for the attacking side. But Capitao is more of the big thing because if there's no Capitao, it means that the guy inside of Garage for the defense, he's pretty much immortal there.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it is, you know, when they've got the guns in there and they've already demonstrated, granted on a basement point, what they can do whilst having someone up there, and then from that point onwards, they just kind of ignore them, rightfully so, and force them into a situation where they've got to push back against these big open sight lines. You know, it's just well played from Existence right now to kind of realize how to push this, how to play against it. As you said, you don't have to take this map too fast because of how vast it is, and everything's just kind of falling in their favor so far. Now, Fabian opening up some huge multi-story sight lines there to see if they can catch anyone by surprise as, well, they return upstairs and give it a take 2. Hopefully a little bit more, I guess, aggressive. Yeah, we'll kind of want to see the G2 from the second round again.
Existence haven't changed up their lineup a whole too much. Bringing fairly standard double hard breaches, a known quantity for Clubhouse. Need that denial from the Thatcher as well, and Sophia always works wonders in many of occasions. That's why she's one of the top picked attackers. And there's the buck if you ever need a bit more nade, which does come in quite handy, especially for the top floor, like we've talked about, trying to stop that bandit trick, which is what they went for last time, and they're going to try and do the exact same thing. I know that you questions about, oh, where were the ADSs? It's because they try and Thatcher it from above, but that one's actually missed. So that's unfortunate there from Existence that cost them the kill.
Well, at least there was an ADS that second time, gave the game away, and Pengu swung around into it. Suffered a huge amount of damage, but he's got the body down. It's the buck taken out of the equation. It's quite a big loss because so far Wesker's had a pretty solid game. Now it's just a matter of seeing if Existence can respond to that. Being the body down first of all, how much of this tactic does it pull apart, and how much is a bit of a problem? Heavily droning. Duke again, if we talk about people that have been problems, was causing a lot of disruption and, well, destruction from underneath with the Zephyr gun. I believe got 2 frags, one on the roam and then one on the body inside, so they're probably going to be a bit more concerned about that hold. Last time you can see Fabian has jumped on the table and is going to hold onto it, but Wispy otherwise has very quickly found the space in construction, started to flash around the side and wants to start trying to get that wall open, but has to rely on the Thatcher as Kanto just has a bit of a lie down and relaxes.
G2 don't need to move all too much, because everything from Existence now is being redirected towards the west side, and as long as they know that they have that coverage of Garage, then really that breach run-in isn't going to come in to nail them. So you see G2 also trying to go for a couple of rotates in towards below, because they know that's where Sophia's lurking. Go holding breach along with Kanto, of course, having that crossfire. A lot of pressure now on Fabian to see if he can try and hold this down while gives Pengu enough time to rotate in towards Bedroom and go for his flank.
Well, Duke is still trying to cause some disruption underneath. Hasn't found anyone yet, but the more time he gets, the more floor he gets, and the more worried he gets upstairs. The push comes in, and Kanto finds the hit this time round. Wispy gets the refrag against the lurking Pengu, but this could be a second body for Kanto if they just push right in here against this door. The flashes are coming, the utility. Goga's watching the other stairs, jumps, and Goomba stomps a man as Kanto finally finds Wispy, and there is Uno to lock off Kuribo and bring G2 yet again their response round.
G2 now pull it back 2-2. Existence, it seems to be whenever they kind of lose that first man, they slow down a little bit and they're not entirely sure where they want to go from there. Whenever things go right for Existence, they look a pretty formidable attacking side, but that is a bit of a lingering effect that some teams kind of struggle with, is if you lose, you know, one of your top guys who's been playing well, everything just comes to a standstill. And more importantly, that was the buck with nades, which could have came in really big for Existence. If you look at kind of where the Kaid was playing in behind the box area inside of A, and of course even if they want to go for Garage, you needed those nades to get rid of Kanto. With no Capital being on the board, you're limited to only grenades. And oh look, there's the classic 6th pick, back on the sledge.
I think it's the first change we've seen them really do in the lineup so far today, but we're heading back down to the church. Now obviously this round's going to be a bit, I think, defining for how the rest of this game could go and how the rest of the matchup could go for me. Because, as I've said, we've seen a pretty slow and steady take from Existence the first time round on both the 2 points they've taken the points on, but then brilliant responses from G2 to instantly kind of realize what they're doing, find the cracks in the attack, and, well, completely exploit them. And I guess we'll see if round 3 is more of a G2 flavor, or if, yet again, Existence can then find the response to the response. Will this be a bloody back and forth throughout the rest of the day, or once G2 crack the code, have they got all of the keys to the lock? Setting up themselves in a fairly similar lineup as to the time they were successful, with Kanto on the Jaeger again, Goga bringing the Valkyrie, and I guess we'll see if Goga can survive a little bit longer than previously.
Yeah, Goga hasn't really done much, has he?
He almost shot that drone there. There he did. He did get it throughout the game so far.
He's only got 2 kills.
Yeah, but it's the thing about it is I don't think they were expected the close down from Existence to be so solid. What Existence have done so far brilliantly is kind of single out the G2 players and take advantage of some of the wider roam. Yes, the time that they were heavily aggressive with the 3 people upstairs, they couldn't quite find anything inside of that because of the cover outside of the opening frag against Goga, but otherwise they've been pretty consistent in realizing where the G2 players are, and from that point on shutting them down. The eyes of Goga are seeing all right now as Barrage rotates down, and Wesker is just inside point. However, the diffuser is on the other side as Wispy finds one. Pengu gets the diffuser down inside the dirt tunnel, and now it's just a matter of trying to reclaim it. You can see that Wesker is just free to move through. Kanto finds Wispy, and this is a man undercover with the Pink Panther theme playing. Barrage finds Goga. And will they be able to shut this down? Duke from behind, but do they expect a man this close?
No, on the prone.
Jeez, Pengu finds him, but unbelievable how Wesker got there uncontested.
He's walked in, G2 again with that extended hold, and it's kind of worked. Thankfully, Pengu's killed the man with the diffuser. Now it's all pressure on him, a 1v2, no longer inside that dirt tunnel. Moves his position, because of course, generically, they're expecting to still be there to peek around. That Sophia bites the dust, and now a triple kill for Pengu. Can he send it home with a quad kill? In Arsenal is where he finds himself, and the Thatcher looking to creep around. This is tense. You can cut it with a knife. That's how tense it is. Thatcher sights in towards deep. SMG-11 rattles off some shots just to keep him at bay. Minute to go. Time for him to toy around with the Penguin. Now Pengu peeks on Rano, but the Thatcher fires through, and somehow Existence, they've made that success.
As you said, we were looking for the response from Existence, and it was there. Get into point as quickly as you can. They're probably going to be somewhere else. And it almost didn't work, but the only reason it almost didn't work was because of an almost 4K from Pengu, who just managed to pick them off one at a time. Great response from Existence. And, well, I guess we're going to see if there was a response to the response to the response at this point.
Yes, back and forth. Attack, win, defense, win, attack, win, defense, win, attack, win. Will we have another defense win?
It's just great how they're reading each other. That's what I really love about this, is they're honestly looking at each other, and some teams really struggle with this. They struggle to pull themselves out of the game, kind of break down what your opponents are doing, much less what was going wrong for you, but what was going right for them and why it was going right for them, and then reacting to it actively inside the game, bringing it the next round and exploiting what makes Siege so delicately brutal is how well you can pick up your fresh operators on the next round and completely manipulate and remanipulate what you are doing in response to them. Now I guess we'll see if G2 again can bring it back. Fabian bringing those electric claws yet again. Kanto and Uno have hopped across for one more time. They're going to trade those operators back and see if they can find some semblance of sanity amongst the pair of them as they, I guess, prepare for yet another Existence. But I would be surprised if Existence tried to pull off another dramatic rush like that.
If you look at the tournament, you kind of eye up OGA pit. You look at the EU qualifier especially.
Yep.
G2 side of the bracket, it should be G2's to lose, shouldn't it? It should be their side. Yeah. There's probably only one team that I feel we could see them against, BDS. So we could have that rematch from DreamHack Montreal. Great thing though, I think for G2 is that they don't have to worry about any Russians.
Yeah, it's
or any Navis, or any Giants, for that matter.
Yeah, there's a fair few teams that aren't on their side. There's a fair few teams that aren't in the bracket at all. But I guess we'll see, how they can kind of deal with this. Because again, I think everyone expected this to be much more one-sided than it is. But it is only early doors on a best of 3. So who knows how the rest of this day may progress. As we can see, G2 have responded with a more solitary kind of defensive strategy. They've pulled themselves back towards the point. They've not thrown 3 upstairs. They've gone back to square one, and at this point, Existence, they're cleaning across. They're getting everything sorted and making sure they have their control of the upper floors before they start barricading and attacking downwards. And I guess we'll see. Fabian has instantly pulled out of Moto, going to swing across the main door and leave the hatch across. No, caught the charges, I believe. No, couldn't quite find it, but Kanto doesn't care as he guns through the explosive hole and finds Barrage, who is just drifting aimlessly across an opened hatch.
Nice shot as well. Just add on to that. So it must have been a great shot. What a great shot.
Like a great shot.
Well, he says it's a nice shot. It must be a nice shot.
Yeah, because if that was the kind of shot you suffered in ranked, then it would just be accusations of being a hacker. But in this kind of scenario, you just know they are just fantastic players. Sending those flashes down and trying to get more control. Now, you got to remember last time Existence were trying to push like this against a G2 that was trying to hold like this. Existence had already kind of picked up 2 bodies just from the soft destruction on the top floor. As we said, they lost a lot of ground very quickly, and it was exploited very well by Existence. But so far, G2 have been able to find a little bit of counter-aggression inside that. Talking of counter, Kanter is bouncing back and forth between a lot of bullets, just trying to hold on to blue for now.
Name something more iconic than bullet holes inside of blue. You can't do that, can you? I don't know, maybe G2 choking, who knows? So, Existence now, they will start to look in and try and finally get something on the board. Looking to enter in free Moto, the bandit trick comes in from Kanto, and that's completely shut down the round now for Existence, because they simply have to push in through a door frame, and, well, it's worked one time. Can it work anymore? No, Uno shuts them down along with Penga. 2v4 now, Existence scattered, both players, one in blue, one inside of Moto, and G2, they take that and they square things off, 3 on 3.
3-3 at the turn of the half. No diffusers down, but a hell of a lot of bodies, and I guess it's just the way that this game is going to kind of go. We'll see if Existence can bring the swing of their attack rounds into defenses, or if G2 can find a bit of the momentum that we know is so famed from their part. It's been a very good close game so far, I think. Much closer than, as I said, any of us really expected.
Existence, they've gave some pretty good strategies out there. You know, you look at their attacks. Very picturesque perfect. Everything needs to kind of go for them if they want to make things a success. I'm glad that they prioritize getting the breach open before anything else, because a lot of teams, especially if you look at the cache, teams struggle with that. You know, there's teams who kind of feel as if they need to put more pressure on the garage first, but if you try and put pressure on the garage, that guy has like areas to run away from. You know, if you're starting to put like a couple of nades and capital bolts, whatever it is, in towards the top of the garage, he's just going to rotate out and go sit inside a B. If you open up that breach, that means it's another angle that this guy has to be aware of inside a garage. And then whenever that breach is open, that's where you go for the rotate. That's where you pressure the man on top of catwalk, and you just don't allow him to escape. So get the breach open, guys. That's the first thing to do, because it creates that massive gap inside the bomb sites.
Well, we talk about similar and standard loadouts, and it looks like G2 have generally gone with the exact same thing that Existence are going, because it is a tried and true method, especially for the points that you expect them to pick on this. It's one of those few maps where the double hard destruction is, well, it's not only recommended, it's encouraged, and we can see themselves, I guess, setting up for a similar push that we've seen Existence do pretty well so far. A lot of pace here, and Kanto wants to instantly get dug in to the bodies of Existence. Again, though, for those who aren't too familiar with Existence outside of the Spanish league scene, they're a team that has pretty repeatedly knocked on the door of CL. They've kind of been close for a lot of these tournaments. They beat Gamewood, who are a CL team, to get to this position. They're a CL team that's doing pretty well so far. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, they were only, I think it was 2 rounds from actually beating Forza in the very first qualifiers for CL. So they have a lot of legacy under their name.
Yeah, a lot of teams thought that this Spanish team was going to be the pride of Spain and actually make it into Challenger League. Unfortunately, it didn't work out their way, having 2 grand finals, but coming second place in both of those in the qualifiers, and didn't manage to play the 4th one, though, due to other commitments. So that was unfortunate not seeing them in Challenger League. Let's see if they can kind of turn the tables here and pull a blind one out behind G2. They are going to try and get open the wall first, and they're going to go for the idea of not going for the window, which is kind of what we've seen Existence go for. Instead, they're going to try and pressure from below, bucking, making sure that Karibo can't do his job as freely as what he would want to. And now he will rotate back, and of course he can bring those grades and try and pressure in towards that top of catwalk, which is, we're kind of expecting G2 to now pressure that point.
Oh, they were wasting no time at all, and obviously pulled back after they've got the wall open. This is, again, very clinical, very structured from the hands of G2. Everyone knows the part they want to play in, the first position they need to be in, as the ground slowly starts to open underneath the man in Garage. Wesker is trying to hold the angle against the breach and see if they can catch anyone that gets a little bit too overzealous, with Duke, who's rotated down onto blue stairs, waiting potentially to collapse back, but there is a grenade landed from the hands of Buck, and kind of demonstrating how it's done to open the frags against the Legion, and that gives them a lot more possibility of getting control of that garage. Now I believe they've cleared everybody out, and it's just the close down from the Jaeger from behind that might be the nightmare in their, well, plan.
Duke looking for the repel, and there'll be an upside down one, and Uno gets caught out, but that does give Jaeger's position away, but I don't think it matters. Still, G2 have everything that they want. They have garage control, they have the breach control. Now it's just a matter of fact of how they will execute and try and get the defuse down, of course. And whenever there isn't any C4s kind of in the radius to try and stop it from below, because I don't think Karibo is going to be in a position to do so, I'll rely on him, see if he can hit his mark with the Nitro South. Pengu inside a garage, holding down that door frame, and let's see how Fabian wants to try and push in. Typically it's Goga who wants to try and go for the plant, but they've switched roles here. Pengu now starting to get pressured from behind as Jaeger slipped through the cracks and end up inside a garage, but not for long. And there's Goga, he jumps straight on the opportune moment. Wesker gets flashed as he tried to rain down some havoc with that LMG, and the final Toxic Babe gets tossed out, and Kanto just goes for it. He feels like we need to get something on the board, but only thing he gets is a C4 in Existence. They have the collapse, a double kill even from Karibo. What a round from Existence.
It just looked like G2 ran out of time and ran out of ideas. They seem to be stammering and stuttering, and they don't seem to have really got themselves together for when the push comes to the shove at this point. 4-3. And the board on my kind of notebook at the minute is just back and forth, and you know, we're seeing it on the screens as well. At this point, we're going to have to rotate to a different point. Obviously, the defensive wins, and I guess we'll see if this plays into Existence's favor. As we said, this has been back and forth, but it's allowed G2 to lose a point and then go back to the same point and try a fresh strategy and try and find a fresh take. But at this point, when they're on their attacks, if they lose it, they've got to try and reinvigorate themselves for another point. They've got to try and find a way to make a new idea work. And so far, every single time we first visited a place, it has not gone their way.
Church for Existence. Let's see what they're praying for. Praying for a miracle if they want to win this.
I think they're praying for a lot of things right now. Praying for more bodies to be dropped. I mean, it's always hard to say, because to be fair, at the very beginning of this, we said Clubhouse has been a bit of a mixed history for G2. They don't have the most solid history against it as compared to other maps in their pool. And it's not their pick, so maybe they don't really want to run it too much. And in ban, pick, ban, ban, you don't have as much freedom to take out maps and kind of limit what you want to play. So, you know, it could be a bit of a victim of happenstance where this is Existence's best map. This is what they love to play and what to kind of bring and stuff like that. And then from then on, I guess we'll have to see if they can translate that onto 2 extra maps. This is where best of 3s, you know, that's why players prefer this.
So Existence lineup, fairly standard from what we're expecting for the basement. You have that control of the Legion and Smoke that can help with the anchors later on, and whenever it typically is a big massive cluster, those GUI mines will come in pretty handy if you try and place them at multiple entryways that G2 will try and pressure in towards. And information as well being gathered by Valkyrie has those black eyes and no IQ as well. IQ hasn't been featured though, however. I think even by Existence, they didn't bring it either.
They don't really care for it today. It seems like they know where stuff's going to be and they know how they want to crack it open. I guess that's the thing about Clubhouse, is we've already talked about how kind of vast it is. You know generally how stretched it makes the holds of certain defenders. Uno, yet again, opens up the frags, this time against Duke, who's otherwise been, he's a pretty big problem in the previous round on the Jaeger, just for kind of slowing the attack roll. They're trying to hold on to Moto as best they can as the Buck starts to make quick work of all of the roof that he can find. And you know, it's the thing about it is you know where they're going to be holding. You know where they're going to be putting Kaid charges. You know where they're often going to be putting a lot of Valkyrie cameras and stuff like that as well, because you know what they need to keep their eyes on. Just because, as I said, this point and this place is so exceptionally vast. Cracks open the Moto hatch as the Kaid suffers are down, and they're going to try and find the bullets in the body, and well, there he is. The Cowboy is caught out, and now it's just a matter of finding the way closer down. Barosh finds Kanto in the meantime, and it's just a minute 30. Can they make something happen a bit faster than last time? Well, they're starting their second phase of the attack as they throw the flash canisters over the top and get a bit more aggressive here. The bullet holes that you love to see.
Yeah, there's the classic things that we love to see on the pie chart. That. Let's see if Existence can try and hold this down, because there's a lot of things being opened up. Of course, that X-Kairos will create that breach in towards that triple wall. And now Karibo stuck between a rock and a hard place. See if he can go in nuclear with the shotgun. We've seen many a times the smoke go off. But Uno himself will add on to the tally of Existence and their death counter. And, well, 2v4 not looking promising. Still one inside of blue, gets shut down straight away. And even the peak, the trade comes in, and there's Fabian. Last kill, and G2 again dominant there. And I don't know what it is, but both teams are playing very similar in terms of how they kind of want to go about things. You know, you look at the attacks, both of them had the exact same mindsets. Defense, not putting pressure on the attackers in the early game, which is the big thing for me.
29 bullet pre-fire, the standard pre-fire there that was being bought. But you know, yeah, I think it's fair. They are similar, these two teams. They're kind of battling against each other, and it's almost one of those things of when you are G2, you've put so much out into the play pool of style and kind of grace, and Existence are a team that have been around for a very long time as well, that they'll know all of this stuff, and they'll be able to pick up on all of this stuff, and they've kind of been able to see the dictionary definitions that have been written by this team and find ways to replicate and reinvigorate them. And you know, we're kind of seeing that swung in, really. It's you know, when one meets another kind of thing. And I guess we'll see if at this point I'm just curious which team is going to be the one to break this deadlock. If obviously G2 have been consistently on the back foot throughout this game so far. We're returning to Church, a point of big contention and big picks throughout this entire game. That was a very good shutdown from G2. And for the first time so far this game, we're going to see how Existence respond to losing a defense. And if they can find a way to, I guess, keep a little bit more control of the upper floors.
G2 in their run inside of Pro League this season was disappointing for the first half, but then great stuff going in towards their second half, taking a 5-1-1 split, but just falling short to Navi, who was really the only team that kind of stood in G2's way. You'd have to admit, from their standpoint, Navi had an absolutely insane season, and it's managed to best G2 and stop them from going to Japan. So this is one of two of G2's kind of only situations where they can go to invite. They either have to win this tournament, not only win the Europe side of things, but also win the LAN event in December. And if they don't do that, then they go into the closed qualifiers for the open ones.
And you got to look at some of these teams that are playing for places. You got to look at some of these teams that are playing for places at the LAN. Obviously, we've already talked about the EU teams like Forza, like Secret, like BDS, and like G2 and Penta, and the list goes on and on and on. But then you've got to look at the other regions as well. Liquid, who had an absolute unbelievable showing. MIBR as well, who are yet to see. And NA, you've got AG and SSG and all those kind of teams as well. And it's going to be a heck of a LAN if the expected teams make it, and if they don't, well, then you're looking at a LAN of teams that have beaten giants. It's going to be crazy either way. Wesker looking to lead this information game, and again, they're looking to try and keep a bit more control of what was a pretty systematic shutdown from Uno before on the block, and if they can catch him with a C4, that could be a big swing in their favor.
Great information from Wesker as well. That's why the pulse is so strong on a map like Clubhouse, especially if you look towards that basement. You can sit in kitchen and just gain so much information. If you're in that scenario, not only do you see the kitchen, you also see main stairs. You can even see dirt tunnel to an extent. There's so much things that Pulse can utilize. But really, since he's wasted that C4 and didn't get the kill, he's kind of been forced out of that scenario. And once more, G2 looking to pressure in towards that basement hallway, and especially that triple wall. X-Kairos and Thermite Charges will go off, and I think that was X-Kairos has actually got Kai tricked there. Fabian opens up with the first blood of this round so far, and now G2, they will begin their intro. Kai tries a little bit frisky, and Fabian once more shuts down another defender.
Well, great play so far from Fabian. He's always a player that when things start to go wrong has a habit of being able to pull the team back into it. Pengu drops Duke as well, and Barrage at least finds one in the opposite favor. But in the meantime, the church is becoming a nice place for Fabian as he works the diffuser down on the corner. Barrage finds another deep from within blue, but it's a post-plant situation, and he's not getting a third as G2 and Fabian and Pengu lead themselves for the first time today in the lead.
Finally breaking the streak, and that's actually been a streak where we've just seen G2 be the only team so far in this matchup to win 2 rounds in a row. It's been back and forth since then.
The first time the diffuser's gone down today as well. It hasn't actually gone down yet so far. Barrage is having a fantastic game. Is responding really, really well to all of the attacks, and is just managing to find those angles that, well, they suffered once at the hands of Kanto, but from then on has been pretty solid. And CCTV and Cash we're going to go back up to. Can they replicate what was their first time here from Existence? Because it was very good, their hold.
Pengu actually ended up being the best player for G2 this season in Pro League. 1.22 rating for him. 136 kills and 94 deaths, so plus 42 there for him.
I think that's the thing about Pengu as a player. He's often cited as being the best in the world, or in that kind of class of the best of the world, and it's his consistency. Is even in games where the tide has been completely washed away in their favor, he still finds a way to surf it and gets himself in the positive stats and gets himself in these situations, and I think that just kind of exemplifies how great a player he can be. You don't look at them on their best day to be their kind of standard. You look at them on their worst day. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my 22 frags on LAN. You know, that's the balance that you kind of look for there.
That was a very good analogy there.
Yeah. I read a lot of motivational posters.
I can see that. It's like the cat just hanging in there, isn't it?
Yep.
That's what it's like. We're trying to get free life, guys. That's all it comes down to. Anywho, Existence now with their cash defense, and Garage is where they'll try and hold from, but we know G2. First of all, they want to try and pressure in towards that bandit, make sure they don't get a chance to try and stop Fabian with his Thermite Charges, and probably Buck will come below, and Uno and Kanto, that duo ship, work together. And this time it looks as if Existence are going to try and stop that from happening by playing that hatch open and having Duke drop down and get an easy frag on Uno if he exposes his body to lounge door.
Well, Duke is, again, he's a player that's been a bit of a thorn in the side so far, and if left unchecked, he could find a pretty beastly rotate. There is the same close down we saw from before, hopefully with a bit more success as Uno suffers some damage but gets out of there. And Barrage, in the meantime, has taken a huge amount of health from underneath. Going to rotate back to where he was holding the close angle with the shotgun before, and this was where we saw G2 stumble previously. They managed to get this wall open, and then from then on, the plan started to unravel. Unfortunately, they just couldn't find boots inside. Now, are they going to shake things up to find a little bit more semblance of control? Fabian is rotating around with the EXO and is going to break open the bottom of Garage and see if, I guess, get a bit more horizontal control across that side and get the man out from inside. And to be fair, that was the opening frag previously, was Uno taking care of Whiskey on those upper rungs. Legion is at least trying to hold on a bit more, but there are some toesies, and oh nosies, he's gone. Uno replicating the first time round.
So Garage taken care of, but the fact that Smoke is still alive and can get killed from a drone hole, but nobody from G2 is checking that, so it could be a very simple kill. Kanto still has, as I say, the nade sends him flying, and that is the smoke gun, which was a big issue for G2 whenever the time was up against him. And like I was saying, Kanto still has plenty of utility he can fire in through, can even create an impact hole if he needs to. But more than likely, concussions, one probably in towards the stairs and one in A-bomb site would cover well enough to allow Fabian to try and push it and go for the plant. I think he's stepped in a goo mine. Another goo mine. Just here, he's dying in agony.
Well, they're popping over.
Another one.
Just pushes in, tries to get the frag, can't quite find it, but look where Uno is. He's dug his way all the way in. Wesker finds Pengu, and Fabian is just going for the plant with a close cover from Uno. Charges around the corner, finds another on his tally, and this Claymore gets Duke in the meantime, and Fabian, diffuser down, and the body too. G2 are back, and they are on match point.
Wow, G2, somehow they made that work, and well, it kind of swung in favor of Existence, but the fact that everything was already going in their plan, diffuse was off, and more importantly, Uno was still in a great position to kind of go frag heavy, which we've seen he did. That Claymore from Kanto Raketti came in pretty handy there to try and shut down the guy who tried to, I think it was the flank. So for Existence, just things kind of fell short, and it kind of comes back to allowing G2 to have too much control in the game. If you want to try and stop G2, you need to eliminate a big factor. And if you try and go for a spawn peek and that works, that could really swing your way going up against a team who needs every operator alive.
Well, at the very beginning of the game, we briefly talked about Uno and his role in this team, and I think it's just showing, he's having a fantastic showing today so far, obviously, because the kills he's getting are very integral to how they want to take the point. We look at the first time they tried to push CCTV, and Smoke was that wall. That was what was stopping them get in, and then with some, tricksy plays and grenades, he managed to just pull the man out of the equation, and from then on was free to break straight into point and find another couple of frags for his troubles. And I think that's just kind of showing the skill of G2 is they can pinpoint a moment and pinpoint an operator where things started to go wrong and find their way through that. And then even when they're losing operators and left and right and Claymores are coming in clutch, they can get the diffuser down.
Nitty-gritty for Existence. They have to go perfect now into the next 2 rounds if we want to pull it back to overtime. And that stage, then it's really all to play for. Everything gets reset, everything's new, and whoever wins, wins the map. So Existence, again, pretty standard operator lineup. No Bandit, just the Kaid this time around, but Maestro being brought in once more to kind of give them that information that they are lacking. And well, whenever Valkyrie is also available, and Valkyrie can be pretty useful for the outside, but whenever they're not utilizing the kind of jump high potential you get, especially if you throw a Valkyrie camera out and towards like the garage wall, it covers the entirety of that bedroom. And do you know what's even more of an interesting fact, Fluke? What? We have only seen Church and Cash be played this entire match. Yeah,
they just kind of want to jump between the two. They're only
not a single gym bedroom.
You're only allowed to play points to begin with the letter C today. That's the theme of the day. You're going to be in a tight spot on most other maps, but Goga quickly taking over logistics as you can see them doing quite a conceded close down, but there is a man on those main stairs that you'd hope they're aware of at this point, because we said the roam has been a bit of an issue on them previously, and if they can get that one kill, if they can get the 1 or 2 to kind of lead themselves in from Duke, then it can be, a big monumental moment. Still free to run around downstairs, and so far suddenly no one seems to be immediately trying to catch them out, but that's not really been G2's MO. They haven't been doing particular roam clear. They've been trusting in their process and strategy and utilizing that as their entry. There goes the Maestro cam before Thatcher can even begin to roll an EMP at it and suffer its fate, but otherwise I guess we'll see if G2 can make it work.
Uno starting his destruction below, has the nade cook, and will it land anything? No, just barely misses the Maestro, but it's enough to scare him away. So they've pretty much cleared out a bomb site for the most part, so they could try and rotate in and try and take advantage of course, whenever you see players like Kanto now towards this side of the map rather than the other, it kind of leads us to believe that yes, a bomb site is where they will try and pressure themselves in towards. It makes sense whenever they have back below, opening up all of the angles, nobody can sit safely inside of A, and it kind of comes down to see how well Existence can retake. Not having control of Garage could kind of cause them issues whenever there is that long angle straight into the heart of a bomb site that we've seen Uno, or not Uno, it was Kanto holding it as the Jaeger instead of Catwalk, and held that angle, got a couple of kills from it, and let's see if Existence can do the same.
Well, Clearbow brings a balance back as he takes Goga to the afterlife, and Fabian is still looking for a way to try and just get this body, but kills from drone holes are rarer to see at this kind of tier, and with the intensity that we've seen from this game so far. Barrage, again, has been a huge player for Existence, clinging on with a tiny fragment of health back, and that was all it took previously for a close lone frag grenade to end his life. There's the wide swing from Fabian, dropping a cheeky juke, but he escapes and slips away, and Jaeger is back to fight another day, unfortunately, because there are so many windows and possibilities. Pengu, in the meantime, finds one, and there is another for Uno. Wispy gets Pengu as the trade, and they've got 8 seconds to try and get this diffuser onto point, creeping up the back stairs, and they're going for the plant here with Barrage taken out of the equation. Uno swings in, Wispy gets one, needs to stop the diffuser at this point, swings around, but no. G2 take the map point, bring themselves up from what was at points a bit sketchy.
Attack Clubhouse, for some reason, has seemed to ring truth not only for G2, but also Existence. They had some great attacks going into that, but inevitable, as always, G2, they take the map, they go 1-0 up, but of course, we have to see how they will continue on. We're going to a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
Predict the outcome, win the game. Get live coverage and schedules for your favorite tournaments. Analyze, predict, and vote to gain points. Compete with other esports fans and climb the leaderboards. Strafe, everything esports. Download now on iOS and Android.